Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, one and all. This is another edition of the Smoking Barrel. I'm Rustin Edwards, based in Switzerland, with my tropically dressed co-host, Mr. Matt Stanley, based in Dubai.
I miss wearing this shirt, so I thought I'll just do it for our loving viewers.
Huh. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks,
Very
mate.
tropical.
Thank you. Day four of us recording every day, and I can't remember a time when we didn't record every day. Day six of the conflict. It's been pretty quiet overhead, which is the problem. The problem is that people are allowed to start rebuild renovating their houses again. So they've allowed all the construction workers back. The issue with that is every single time they drop something in a skip, I think it's a missile being intercepted. So it's amazing how quick things can change about. But where are we? Let me
Oh,
share the
we got flat price at
yeah, let me share my screen. I'll share 82.96 made Brent up a dollar 650 61 55 63 and 58. I mean, to say it's moving fast is an absolute understatement, but it is. Diesel we've still got on a tear, mosquito. What is it? I've actually got my zapper here, so if you see me waving around a tennis racket, it's me getting mosquito. It's that time of year in the Middle East.
well, I mean, the
Um,
one thing I think that's pretty interesting about crude oil, we're sitting at $83 of crude, and we basically have been sitting between, let's say, 80 to $85 for the last 3 days.
yes, I
The
agree.
market is questioning why aren't we higher? And I think I took part in the Kepler webinar that was just on the air about 20 minutes ago,
Yeah.
and pretty astounded that yes, there's still a lot of capacity on the water, a lot of spare capacity on the water with all the floating storage barrels.
Mhm.
And a lot of unsold cargoes that were available prior to this event kicking off, this war kicking off in the Middle East. So that it's kept a bit of a spare capacity that can be absorbed up to a point in the marketplace.
Yeah.
But
I,
we are seeing the reaction on the product side, especially with gas, oil, and jet fuel.
yes, we are. Got it. Sorry. It does get madder at the smoking barrel. Trust me. Fucking mosquitoes. Got it. Yeah, you're right. Look, I mean, where's the high that we've seen this week? 85.12 was that on Tuesday. The low, we've been down to 75, 75. I say the low. But yeah, you're right. We seem to be in a holding pattern again. And something that I asked, thank you for your company during the Kepler webinar, by the way. It was a question I put to Amina Bakker. I said, look, at what point does it get to where the market does sort of start going, okay, enough time has lapsed now. There's enough oil locked in that prices have to go higher. Jet fuel. So this is what I said in my commentary this morning. Jet fuel last night, this morning traded at just under $230 a barrel, right? That is up 140%. If crude oil went up linear compared to how jet fuel has gone up since Friday, where do you think Brent would be trading, Russ?
Oh, we'd be well over $100.
$174 a barrel.
Okay.
So
I stand corrected.
no, you're right, but it's moving the digits around on where crude traded at its highest in what July 2008 at 147. Just flick around those last two numbers and we're at 174, which is over double where we are now. So jet fuel has more than doubled, but crude has gone up. Okay, it's up 40% since the start of the year when we opened at $60 a barrel. We're up. Where do we close Friday? 72.48. So we're at 83.04 now, minus 72, 48, 10. So we're about $10 higher a barrel, which is how much is that? 15%. That's, I mean, paltry.
Well, it's a rather subdued response, I think, and there's been a lot of press out. As we talked about yesterday, we have the potential of naval escorts, the potential of insurance coverage for transit in the Straits of Hormuz, but we're also starting to see traffic starting to pick up in alternative load ports such as Yanbu and Fujairah to
Yeah,
move crude out of the Middle East. So
yeah,
as freight starts to reposition it is going to relieve some of the pressure and allow some barrels to make it to market. But it takes time to reposition freight. It's not like an instantaneous move. So when you had all the ships, and there's still a lot of ships positioned in ballast to go into the Middle East, into the Persian Gulf, it takes roughly, 6, 7 days to transit one of those ships around to an alternative load port into Yanbu or Fujairah.
How many days?
About 6, 7 days to get to Yanbu
Six,
from.
seven, my kids would say.
Yeah.
Stupid thing. Sorry. Right, let's have a look at this. You got to laugh. What's the point, right? Um, okay. Yanbu here, Abcake here, East-West pipeline, about 7 million barrels a day. We we reckon that the terminal's never loaded more. Yanbu's never loaded more than about 2.5 million barrels a day. Well, could we get up to say 4.5, 5? I don't know. We have to see. Where are we on on ADNOC, the Adcop Murban, which is down here? About 1.8, something like that. Let's just concentrate on what's happened. Here's a question for you. Bab on Medeb. That hasn't really been discussed. It was a big problem. It waned. Now it's a problem again. It's pretty quiet though. Is that uh, ignorant of me, or do you think that's going to start kicking off again?
Well, the Houthis said that they'd support the Iranians in their defense of their nation. So have the Houthis, they haven't popped their head up yet to start shooting at ships, but they did put a general threat out that they would.
Right.
So I don't know if they want to risk it or not and start taking the wrath of other countries because you have to think that with everything that's been going on politically with the GCC states being attacked by Iran, that if the Houthis did something to start curtailing traffic through the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb, they might feel it from the north, if not Israel. You might see it from Saudi and from the UAE and the U.S. Navy for that matter.
Okay. I mean, Yambu's pretty busy, very active. Look, every available berth there. Oh no, maybe not. But this is the terminal here. You can see it's pretty active. Um, okay, that's the Red Sea. I think the Houthi. I think that's going to be. Look, let's deal with that. Let's move to Fujairah because that's so many questions that I've got. Sorry, the internet's really slow today. I wonder why. Um, okay, here's Fujairah. We're hearing conflicting reports that. One sec, this is loading. Look at this. That's a vessel that's in the middle of the land, apparently in the mountains. That'll be it spoofing its position. So it's AIS is picking up that it's somewhere else. Um, there are no vessels at the berth in Fujairah. That's the first time I've ever seen that. There is not one berth that's occupied.
Well, there were
So,
reports that there was a force majeure declared at the Vajara bunker facilities.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
look, I was speaking to a mate of mine this morning. What did he say? Hang on. We heard Argus were quoted saying that Fujairah is terminal has been empty since Tuesday afternoon. Some bunkering is taking place at Fujairah anchorage, but no one can reload. Expect the market to run dry by early next week. A lot has shifted to Oman, but that's also running dry as there are only two bunker barges down there. Okay, where do we go with this? Um,
well, I mean, this kind of comes into the whole discussion around what's going on with the fuel oil markets, because there's a lot of people focusing on natural gas, focusing
yeah,
on gas oil, focusing on jet fuel, but fuel oil is also the fuel that drives the logistics flow of the entire world. Every ship in the world, for the most part, burns a fuel oil. If they're not burning the small percentage, it burns LNG.
yeah,
And as with everything else, the Persian Gulf was a major exporter of fuel oil. You had Al Zor exporting a fair amount of low sulfur fuel for VLSFO blending. You had Citra with their high sulfur fuel exports. Iran also has high sulfur fuel exports as well.
yeah,
So a lot of volume coming out of that market, and it is putting upward bias in the fuel market. So Fujairah, major supply bunker point, probably hasn't had resupply then for the last 5 days now and could easily run out of fuel. Same thing with Oman, because Oman has its own refining capacity as well as what they brought in
yeah,
for blending. And Singapore seems to also be having a bit of a tighter market as well, with retail bunker prices accelerating in the Far East as supply starts to become a bit more tighter.
What's happened to, because high sulfur has obviously gone bid. What's happened to point 0.5?
Point 0.5 has also gone up, not as strong as high sulfur has gone up, though.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Um,
So, I mean, okay, we talk about, look, I don't want to get crass in any way, but when we saw the issues Bab on Madeb, let me go back into the map here. We saw a lot of people obviously choose a different route or route if you're American, choose a different route on Cape of Good Hope. Does this move the bunkering circus, if you like, from Fujairah, Sohar down here? Does South Africa benefit from this? Does Durban start really ramping up? Would, if you were
well,
trading again, would you say let's go to Durban and let's set up a facility there?
no, because you don't really have any inland supply. You're still relying on our barrels to get barrels into Durban to
Right.
make blends available for the marketplace. So basically, Singapore, potentially off of Nigeria, West Coast Africa, Brazil, those places can be a bit more relevant when it comes to bunker supply because they have actual refining capacity to make fuel oil.
Okay, hang on.
Um,
So what you're saying is, okay, so let's say let me just zoom out. Let and take out all these bloody blasted boats. Let's say you're taking a cargo from ARA here through the Med. Oh no, say you're going via the Cape all the way to Singapore. The only place you could bunker would be here or here.
Well, you can bunker in Europe, you can bunker in the Azores, you can bunker you
But
can bunker in South Africa, but again, there's very limited refining capacity there to do so.
right, because
Uh,
if you're saying this area here is essentially, you know, is cut off from any maritime activity right now, more or less. Everything's going via the Cape and everything's going here to which way do you go? You go through here. Let me actually put liquids in so you can see the route, Singapore. So here's the route through here and then you go down straight to Malacca, right?
yep, that's correct.
So if you would take on bunkers, say you're moving a Suezmax, which is trading what right now? Say ARA to Singapore, is that even moving?
There's no, as far as I've seen, there's been no refresh on the values. The last value that was done prior to the war breaking out, 7.4 million to move a Suezmax from ARA to Singapore. Now let's say it's called unquoted at this point because I don't think anybody wants to be involved in that route because crude oil is going to pay you a lot more and give you a lot more optionality for your ship. And this is where we get into the initial with the problem with fuel oil prices is that at this point in time, the bunker fuel markets in the Far East are going to start feeling a squeeze. Especially without the supplies coming in from the Middle East into Singapore and the arbitrage effectively being closed from Europe into Singapore. Singapore, 4.2 million tons on a normal month, probably has overall demand dropping at this point in time because of the lack of flow into the Middle East, but nevertheless, you still have all the consumer goods are going to be moving. So you might go from 4.2 to potentially 3.8, 3.9, maybe still rating at 4.2, but you don't have the supply, so your premiums start going up.
Okay, so look, if you're looking at this is Singapore monthly imports of fuel oil by origin country. Saudi, March, it's looking like there is a couple of cargoes. Obviously, there won't be any from Kuwait. It won't be any from Iraq, or Bahrain, Russia.
Nor from Kuwait.
No, UAE would be Fujairah. Indonesia, obviously, with their new refinery, etc. So you're talking about no Saudi, no Kuwait. Okay, so if I was to let's look at Saudi, let's look at Kuwait, let's look at UAE, Iraq. Okay, so this is in this. So in March, we got 1.2 million tons that's supposed to go to Singapore, of
From the Middle
which
East.
from the Middle East. Now, where's it loading out of Saudi? Let's have a look. Jizan, which I think is down. I'm not sure. I don't want to speculate on that. Samref, that's Ras Tanura, right? Samref?
Yep.
Jubail, that's in the Persian Gulf as well. So you got Jizan. Say you take out the twos here. So 180. So we're looking at around 1 million tons of fuel oil that can't that's supposed to go to Singapore that can't get in there. This is all speculative, by the way. This is predictive. This is just me able to look at volume. So I'm not trying to say and spook anyone.
Well, no,
But
but
this is what
this is actually reality because again, when you think of Kuwait can't export, they're stuck. Half of Saudi Arabia's exports cannot leave. Iraqi exports cannot leave.
these ones would have gone though. These
Yeah,
ones
the ones
because
that loaded in early February and late February, yes, but the Somo barrel there, the Dash Sharashka
let's have a look at it.
HSFO,
Where is she? Come on. Uh,
still there.
Still there. She's still there. And this is the reality. I mean, look, this
Well,
is the
it's in,
reality. This is what our data can show, right? It's that was supposed to be in Singapore. It's not going to make it. That's the fundamental physical reason why paper markets have gone bid, right?
paper markets have gone bid, but it's a fact that you've got, as it turns into, it starts getting translated into higher retail prices for fuel because the market is getting squeezed on supply, which in
But
turn was going to start impacting the price of goods being transported, especially when you think consumer goods on container ships, which bunker in Singapore to move on to the next port. That extra fuel cost gets starting to get passed on to the fuel surcharge, which goes to the price of all the boxes being shipped around the world.
okay, so if we were to look at, I'm done. I'm verging on dangerous territory here, but let's not look at a specific country because I hope everyone's all right. But let's look at say jet fuel, right? So let's just look at jet. So we're looking at 7.3 million tons. Let's say that comes out of the Middle East Gulf. Let's say Middle East Gulf. Um, how do we Middle East Gulf? Okay, this is world monthly exports. Excuse me, world monthly exports. Uh, sorry, sorry, I'm annoying myself here. Let's do Meg. This is Middle East Gulf exports of jets in tons. Our 3 month average is 1.8 million tons, and it's coming out of these four countries. Where is it all going? Let's have a look. It's coming here. It's going to UK, France, Netherlands, South Africa. I mean, it's a problem, isn't it?
Well, it's
It's a big
a
problem.
well, I mean, the Middle East is a global distribution hub of products that gets pushed all over the world. And I think everybody's been focusing on the jet and on the gas oil because that's the most immediate one. And when we look at the price action that's happened, those have responded um, properly, let's call it properly, to a supply shock by not having those barrels come to the market, jet fuel and diesel prices. Now,
Yeah.
start looking at the other barrels in the market, such as fuel oil and resid, which has also started to respond, but not as dramatically just yet. But it has pushed up massively in value from where it was from February 27th to where it is today.
Yeah.
Fuel cracks have all rallied, fuel spreads have rallied, backwardation has come slamming back into the markets, which were all pricing contango 2 weeks ago.
I mean, gas oil, ice March gas oil is trading $75 higher today. That's $10 a barrel. Um, I mean, it's a because this is. I mean, I worry when we record in the future where crude starts jumping at those levels because I just feel like the longer this is going on, the more that the Straits of Hormuz are closed, the less we hear about this U.S. insurance policy and U.S. naval escorts. Surely there is a moment when someone goes, do you know what? There's it. China can draw down on stocks of all they want. Eventually, they're going to have to replace those. India needs oil. Where's it all going to come from? And the reality of locked in crude within the Middle East Gulf is a problem. And someone says, gloves off, I'm buying as much crude oil paper as I possibly can, and we go up $10 a barrel in one day.
That could happen, but I think you have to have a realization of a physical squeeze at the marketplace. And I think we're starting to see that realization of physical squeeze happen with, China saying they're no longer going to export product to the world, India squeezing back on their product exports as well. So they want to keep all of their refining capacity for internal consumption on the concern that they're going to run out of crude or get very low on crude. Now, China and India have alternatives. They can buy sanctioned oil. They have bought sanctioned oil in the past. So buying Iranian, buying Russian crude, they can do that to supplement their needs for feedstocks.
But what
But
about okay? But what's to stop? What's to stop? Other countries are in the same situation. Japan, for example. What's to stop Japan going, do you know what? This is an emergency situation. I'm going to have to buy Russian energy.
nothing can stay. That's a government decision at that point. That's politics.
I think we'll get to that point, don't you?
Well, I think if you do start seeing a super spike in prices, yes, there will be a point where people will accept Russian. But you got to remember, Russian energy to the market, 4.3 million barrels a day of exports, of which 3 million is by water.
Yeah.
So you got to overcome the price power of an India and a China to take those barrels in.
Because when you're talking about, it's not just crude oil, but you're talking, say, naphtha, petchem feedstock. A lot of those units in China and in Japan, I think, have already declared force majeure because they can't get the feedstock.
Yes, that's correct.
Is Russian naphtha a like for like replacement or not? Different grade?
Well, the problem with Russian naphtha is they don't produce a lot. It's kept internally for their own gasoline needs.
Okay.
So your exports of Russian naphtha are actually fairly low compared to the amount of gas oil that they produce in the marketplace and the amount of resid that they produce in the marketplace.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Right?
Look, it's okay.
As as with
Sorry, go
any
on.
market with a lot of moving parts that we have right now, people are focusing on the light end, but I think the bottom of the barrel people need to start looking at because that's going to start getting tighter as we move along.
And bunker prices are going to add to freight costs, which is all going to compound into one, right?
And all that rolls into inflation at the end of the day.
Well, it's just been a cheerful episode. No, but look, everyone who's reached out again, I say this every day so far. Thank you for reaching out. We're all okay, but I think that we are reaching a critical point on how much longer the straits can stay closed. What point that happens? We've seen, I would say, a relative drop off in attacks. And I'm looking wistfully up in the air, just I don't see anything. We've seen an increase in jet fighter activity overhead, some really low flying jets, and I think the French are involved now, and the Italians have sent some over, and it's a much wider conflict than people were hoping, anticipated. I hope it comes to an end soon. I really bloody do. Um, but look, like, comment, subscribe. Rush, you've been the beacon of knowledge you always are, mate. If anyone's got anything specifically they want us to touch, we could go on. We could still be recording from Monday morning continuously. It's like a marathon, but we have to control ourselves. But yeah, we'll go again tomorrow, Friday.
That we should.
Come mate. Flat price around where it was where we started. $83.10 up $1.70 on Brent. Diesel on still on a tear, $1,073 a ton. Jet fuel, I dare look at it, but expect some surcharges on your summer holiday plans, I would say.
That's an affirmative. So everybody stay safe. Click like,
Yeah.
comment, and subscribe. But look forward to you on the next one.
Ciao.